Well, hello class. In this chapter, chapter 7, we are going to be talking about motivation as a responsibility of leadership. And this is an important chapter because it has to do with discussing uh, motivation as a way to make things happen. Now, that doesn't always mean from the leader. It means from the followers as well as from the leader. So the first part of this chapter is going to talk about job progression, withdrawal theory, and then it's going to discuss the practical application of motivational theories. Now, finally, we're going to discuss ways managers can motivate employees. So there are essentially in this chapter um, two learning objectives. And the first learning objective is going to be to discuss why employees may not be satisfied at work. I mean, there's a multitude of reasons why. They may not like their work, they may not like their supervisors, they may have some personal things going on in their life that feeds over into their work ethic. Um, and we're going to look at that. And then we're going to look at how the human motivation theories apply to employees that you either lead or work with. When we go to section number 2, we're going to be talking about the strategies leaders can use not just to select, recruit, and hire employees, but also how do we retain them? How do we keep them happy? How do we keep them motivated? And one of the things that I am going to do after I release this particular video to you is I'm going to follow up with a wonderful conversation I had with a dear friend and colleague last year. Um, Dr. Ronald Pacey was the superintendent of schools for the Attleboro school system for a number of years. Before that, superintendent of the Bridgewater school system. And prior to that, actually, he was in, I believe, superintendent of schools in Vermont, had been a principal at several major administrative jobs. And he's going to talk about his perspective about leadership, motivation, and how he dealt with many of his employees. And it was a really nice conversation we had in a very relaxed environment. We were at the 99 restaurant locally, and sometimes this is the best way to do an interview. To sit down and not make it as formal, especially when you know the person you're interviewing, but kind of really get the heart to heart perspectives of some of the things he did to motivate many of his employees. And the thing is, when you interview this way, um, letting the guard down, you're really getting into the nitty gritty of how people lead. Because a lot of times when you try to put them in a formal setting, um, they're trying to go into a structure that honestly, many of the things that they do to lead are done instinctively. So I think this was a really good interview, and I'd like you to hear it. And then right after that, what I'd like you to do is read chapter 7 for today, and then go ahead and do the DQ for chapter 7, and also be able to reflect on some of the key points in the learning activities. Also, you are going to find your first hypothetical. And that hypothetical is going to encompass everything we've studied from chapters 1 through 7. What does a hypothetical include? This is in your syllabus. It's about 5 or 6 paragraphs, 2 to 3 sentences in each paragraph, double spaced, either in APA or MLA format. Now, the thing is that when you do your references, make sure that you have a separate reference sheet at the end of your paper, or at least a link that I can link onto where you got your information. Okay? You don't have to, you only have one upload, so do several drafts of your paper before you submit it. But when you do submit the upload, I ask you to make sure that you include your references. I'm looking for 3 to 4 references for each paper. It's not a lot of work. It's really encompassing everything we've studied. You're going to get 2 of these hypotheticals. Now, when I call them a hypothetical, in reality, they're an essay. Hypothetical meaning, you know, what did you know before you actually wrote your paper, and what do you know now? You're comparing the 2 things based on the interview. You can use actually one, if you want to use one of the interviews as a reference, that's fine. Just reference the interview. If you want to use your PowerPoint, your notes, whatever it is that you need, that's a minimum of 3 references. And I'm looking forward to reading that paper. And these are individual assignments. It's not a group activity. So you are going to get that in learning activities along with your DQ, which I believe will be DQ number 10 for Chapter 7. Okay, good luck.